Broadcasting from Meredith Hall Studios, you're listening to Covering the Field Sports Show, featuring sports analysts Big Rich Martin, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, Gator Gates. And now here's your host, Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to the show, everyone. My guests are our football expert, Big Richard Martin, and our baseball expert, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon. How's it going today, guys?
Doing great, Joe. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Great to be back in. Thank you, guys. Great to be back in Carson City, and great to be back on the show.
Sadly, we start with the news of the death of longtime Dodgers announcer Vin Scully. Ronnie, with you being a Dodger fan, you start off and tell us about him.
Yeah, very sad. A good long life though, right? 67 years announcing for the Dodgers, 94 years old. But, I was there growing up in Southern Cal, and obviously I had mentioned before when I was 8 years old in 1962 and Dodger Stadium opened. And I was there. My dad took me there, and of course I've been there many times since, even living in Nevada, Tahoe, Santa Rosa. I was always going back there. And just awesome to listen to. I mean, I was telling Big Rich earlier, we used to a lot of people still do it. They have their radios in the stands at the game so they can hear him announce the game on the radio. Right. It's pretty amazing. And also back in the late 70s, when I was here for about 10 years and playing softball at Centennial Park out here on Highway 50, my buddy Eric, rest in peace, from LA also. He died a few years ago here in Carson City, but we used to bring the AM transistor radio while we were playing our softball games at Centennial Park up there on Highway 50, and we could pull in Vin Scully and listen to him in some of the games. Right. And just, the guy, best ever, no question about it,
Yeah. Well, I also grew up in Southern California. I grew up in Santa Maria, right above Santa Barbara,
sure.
And it's Dodger blue all the way. And we only had an AM radio in our car. We had a 1970 Datsun, and whenever we did trips, it was Vin Scully, and it was like one of the best announcers that I've had the privilege growing up to to enjoy baseball on the radio. My beautiful fiance Brenda can't stand listening to radio on the baseball radio, and my son Little Dick, he doesn't like listening too much either. Now that they have cell phones and stuff, but back in that day, back in the day, we did listen to the radio and listen to the game, and with Vin Scully, it was like you were sitting there with him.
Without question, yeah, you could visualize everything. I mean, and I mean, you listen to him and the stories he would tell during the game. He was never biased for the Dodgers.
Absolutely.
He was just, I don't know anybody throughout, even in San Francisco at the stadium on all the out of town scoreboards. Actually, the Dodgers were playing them, the last couple nights and the next couple, and they put it on all the boards around the stadium. Vince, I mean, everybody loved the guy. He was amazing. I don't know, Jaime Jarrín, the Dodger Spanish broadcaster, also a Hall of Famer. He said, quote, the major leagues has had great announcers, but nobody like him. His knowledge of the game, his voice style, delivery, and timing made him so special, unquote. So, pretty amazing.
A great career, and he did 3 perfect games. He announced 3 perfect games. He also had probably the greatest call of all times, maybe Kirk Gibson.
Kurt Gibson in '88. That's right.
Beating your team. I'm sorry, John.
A horrible call.
It was horrible.
And me and my second wife Terry were there.
Right.
Awesome.
The Bill Buckner through the legs
with the Red Sox.
Exactly.
So
all some great games.
But he did a lot of World Series. He did All-Star games. He started doing some football.
Football and golf.
And I read a story about the famous announcer Red Barber, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he was great. And there was a story about when they hired Vin Scully, said, "Hey, come and we'll do this game," and he ended up in Boston in the wintertime on the top of the roof, and cold and windy, and announcing game, never complained about it, never said anything bad. And when Red Barber found out, he goes, "What was he doing up there? He shouldn't have been up there." It's like, And he goes after that. He was like, I got it. This guy, I gotta call him back.
Right.
And he ended up. That's how he ended up getting his start. And pretty amazing.
Great story. Like you said, biases. Like you never know what team he even announcing for the Dodgers. You would never know that he was announcing for the Dodgers.
That's right.
Nowadays we listen to these announcers and like especially in Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, when they look. A home run goes like, oh, another home run. I'm like, he just blew the game.
And not to get down, but really, the Giant announcers, I just...
Well, we can't say nothing about the Giants because we are in Northern...
Way biased and way...
But to say that, I'll give you guys a sink or swim.
They were always...
The last game that Vince Scully announced was in Dodger Stadium.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I should have looked that one up.
Yeah, I don't...
I'm gonna say no.
Wait, I think he was at Dodger Stadium.
Okay.
So we have
I just read something.
One sink and one swim?
I'm gonna say one sink just because it seems obvious that it would be a swim. So I'm gonna go.
Well, you did good, Joe, because it was actually, they said it last night. His last game was in over there in San Francisco. So
in San Francisco. Yeah, I was reading so much stuff about him today, and I don't remember that part. But anyway, cool.
Yep. Yeah, and he started in Brooklyn, actually.
That's correct. And he came out with the Dodgers. They wanted him to come out with them, and he did.
That's how many years it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he started in Brooklyn with them.
Correct. And also the Dodgers were before that were the Trolley Dodgers. That's where they got their name, Trolley Dodgers.
Right. We talked. Somebody brought that up last week, and you weren't here, so I don't know who it was, but somebody brought that up to me, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, cool.
So, I guess we should get on to some more news in baseball. Yesterday was Major League Baseball's trade deadline. In fact, who was on the move?
Well, a lot of things happened, and it kind of goes all the way back to last Wednesday, actually, and just, some of the bigger names or well-known names. Andrew Benintendi, who was traded to the Yankees from Kansas City for three minor league pitchers, actually. We also had Seattle ended up getting in. They're trying to, they're not going to win that division, but got a good shot at the playoffs. They got the pitcher from Cincinnati, Luis Castillo. Big pickup there for 4 players and 3 of its top prospects. Then we also had. On Saturday, Tampa Bay acquired David Peralta from Arizona for a catching prospect, and he's actually one of the 9 power bats that I had mentioned last week on the show, and we didn't get into the whole thing, but so Tampa Bay did that on Saturday. We'll get to some more of those trades. I have a couple that happened, obviously a lot of them yesterday at the deadline and on Monday also. Couple stories. Ohtani again. Last Thursday, he actually lost to Texas 2-0. Gave up 2 runs, 8 hits, but 11 strikeouts and no walks. He's actually got a 2.81 ERA. He's a 9-6 record. The reason I bring it up is because that's 6 straight outings with 10 or more strikeouts. And that's one shy of the great Nolan Ryan club record, which he set in 1977. Then we have to talk about Justin Verlander, who is just a phenomenal pitcher and always has been, having a great year after being out all last year. They an 11-1 win over Seattle. He did 7 2/3 inning, 94 more pitches. We talked about that. As they're always worried about the pitch count, and we talked about he was over 100 last week, and he's almost 40 years old. So, that's like the old school pitchers used to do. Anyway, in that game, he gave up 1 run, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, a walk. His ERA 1.81. In the last 6 starts, it's actually .086, and he's 6-0, and he leads the major leagues with 14 wins and 14-3 record.
Well, that's some good news there. How about the news about the big trade? What would you say was the biggest trade?
The biggest trade? Well, obviously, the San Diego Padres, right? Getting, I still can't believe it, actually, getting Juan Soto and Josh Bell. I mean, crazy. Pretty amazing.
From Washington.
All from Washington. They gave up like 6 players, I would say. the left-hand pitcher Mackenzie Gore, we'll see if he ends up being as good as everybody thinks he is, and also C.J. Abrams, who has already been playing on and off in the majors for San Diego, and a bunch of other minor leaguers. I think, personally, San Diego got the way better part of that deal. They also actually ended up getting, the day before that, they got one of the best relievers in baseball, Josh Hader from Milwaukee. He actually, he had a rough month. His ERA is 4.24, but he's got 29 saves. But they gave up, San Diego gave up Taylor Rogers, who's actually got 28 saves and right about the same ERA. And also a kid named Danielson Lament. And I, think as time goes on, I think he'll be a good pitcher. But yeah, San Diego made the big haul,
Yeah, well, Soto turned down that 15-year, $440 million contract.
Correct.
From Washington, the 23-year-old kid. He obviously didn't want to stay in Washington.
Right.
Do you think he's going to get even more money now that he's on San Diego?
Well,
maybe he can take less money.
Yeah, and he's got the rest of this year and 2 more years actually under the contract that he has now.
Okay.
So we'll see. What happens. I don't know. If you heard, like, part of that trade was Eric Hosmer, who has been a great player for San Diego, and he actually had the right to refuse to go to Washington, and he did. And he was like, really, I'm going to go from a first-place team to the worst record in Major League Baseball? But he could deny that, and he did, and now he ended up in Boston on the Red Sox. And, he's been a great player for him. I feel bad for him, man. It's like, but, they got Josh Bell, who's a first baseman. So.
Well, that was a good move for Hosmer, that's for sure. But
it ended up being better for him. He didn't want to leave San Diego, but and he surely wasn't going to go to Washington, and
right.
He had the right to refuse that. So
I think they did the same thing, kind of like the Rams are doing. They're just taking players that are established instead of prospects. And at 23 years old, he's still a young player. Tatis is young. And
Sure.
they got Manny Machado, so they got the three-headed,
Sure.
and now they got a relief pitching. I think they're going to compete with the Dodgers.
yeah, that's true. The thing is that I've seen it happen before with the Dodgers, the Yankees. A lot of teams, money does not buy you a championship, obviously, or even have a whole slew of good players doesn't do it. So we'll see what happens. And San Diego, I think, has had given up on the division already and going for the top wild card spot. But what are they?
10 games out. Yeah,
11 and a half or 12 out, and there's still like about 60. Well, less than 60 games to
You
go.
still get 40-1 odds right now for them to take that division.
Yeah, and I truthfully, don't see that, except for that. Totally disappointed in the Dodgers. They did nothing, basically. They ended up getting Joey Gallo from the Yankees, who just did terrible for them. And he might turn it around, but because he has been a good hitter. But they did nothing, and I think it was a mistake because they're counting on all these guys that are injured, pitchers, and of course Justin Turner and
Cody
Chris
Bellinger
Taylor.
and Cody Bellinger.
Those guys, they're counting on those, everybody coming back and being good. And obviously Bellinger and Muncy still haven't really hit.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that James Ottman that they brought up, the Dodgers did. Unbelievable couple games, 5 for 6. That's .833 batting average, and we'll see what happens as time goes on. But I'm kind of disappointed they didn't do anything. And
they already got the best record in baseball, one beyond the Yankees.
They have the best record in baseball.
So
as of
why,
today,
last year, they gave up prospects to get Scherzer, and it turned out to be nothing. They had a 1-year rental, and they didn't make this
exactly.
World Series. So.
Another thing that I totally have always disagreed with is rentals.
Right.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, and what they gave up for it. So, and luckily they still have Trey Turner out of that deal, who's just unbelievable player on both sides of the ball. And but anyway.
So San Diego is going to try to catch up to LA. Highly unlikely. Wasn't that kind of a weird trade though? Hader was
Yes.
on a first place team.
Yes.
Milwaukee was in
Yes.
first place, and here they're trading away maybe
don't get
the
it.
best reliever in.
Don't get it.
in
Yeah, he had a
baseball.
rough month. They all do. I mean, still leads the league in saves at 29. He's always been good. That one makes no sense to me. Getting Josh Bell too from I don't know, the San Diego, what they did in those trades and with Josh Hader, I'm thinking, what's up? It just, some of it just doesn't seem quite right to me. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
As far as Gallo, he looked pretty miserable there in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Batting 150 and trying to hide more than
He was hating life there, and so
anything, so he needs
he's
to
been a good player. You go to another team, the Dodgers are usually good, salvaging some players' careers in players, position players and pitchers, and so we'll see what happens.
Well, my A's, of course, did what they do every year, trade a couple of their really good players, and they ended up on the Yankees. We got Frankie Montas.
That's right.
And
Pitcher, yeah.
Lou Trevino.
Yep.
We got a starter and a reliever, and typical A's baseball. And we're gonna suffer some more. And we actually started playing really well, at least for
Exactly.
But for A's,
That's right.
A's
That's
baseball
right.
anyway. And,
No, yeah,
I think
they
everybody
started putting
was
some games together.
everybody was trying to play well to hopefully get traded and get the hell out of there is what they were trying to do. And I know if I was an agent for one of those A's players, I'd be saying now's the time. So
Right. Yeah,
and they did.
Yeah, I think I was going to bring up the Giants because we're here in the Bay Bay Area, right?
Yep.
And really surprised that they haven't done anything with Carlos Rodon. I just I don't get it, especially because not that they're totally out of it. They still have a shot at a wild card, but they've been going backwards for a while. And he's $22 million a year, and he already pitched enough innings on his contract this year to just walk away at the end of this year. And he's gonna. I mean, he will go somewhere else, and he'll probably even get more than $22 million. And the Giants will get nothing for it. I mean, I don't get it. I really thought they would move him. And maybe even Jock Peterson too, but they haven't, or they didn't. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, I'll just mention a few other trades. I don't know if you want to touch on any of them. Boston traded catcher Christian Vasquez to Houston. He was the longest tenured Boston Red Sox player. He'd been there for 8 years. Houston got Trey Mancini from Baltimore, who missed the entire 2020 season. He had stage 3 colon cancer.
That's correct.
And got
That's
to be
correct.
a fan favorite. So that was, certainly not a surprise so much, but Baltimore was fighting for a wild card, kind of, sort of. And
Well,
here's
exactly.
your most inspirational player.
I know, yeah, he's
and you're
been there for a long
treating
time.
him
And, they just got above 500, and there's still a game above 500 Baltimore since they got there about, a week and a half ago or something like that.
And the only other one is Philly that I noticed that was big, getting Noah Syndergaard from the LA Angels.
Correct, yeah. I had those two, and you just covered them, so we're good there. I did want to bring up... I already brought up surprised with the Giants, but also two guys that didn't get traded, which I really thought would. Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ from the Cubs, and they didn't move them. And there was a talk a couple of days ago about the Dodgers, Ian Happ, and then also the Cleveland Guardians and the White Sox, who are both can win that division just as easily as Minnesota, did pretty much nothing or very little in the trade deadline, and where Minnesota did do a few things. So that kind of puzzles me a little bit. And,
Well, maybe we should get to some other baseball news. Obviously, Yankees slugger Aaron Judge, always in the news, is having an amazing year. I believe he's got 43 home runs right now.
Yeah, Aaron Judge. Pretty amazing. Thursday, Saturday, Monday, he actually ended up tying Mickey Mantle from 1959 with the third walk-off in Yankees franchise history.
For one season, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
And exactly, yeah. And he had actually had 41 home runs by August 1st, which was what Babe Ruth did in 1928. And Roger Maris in 1961 had 40. And of course, Roger Maris' 61 home runs is still the American League record for home runs in a year in the American League. So Judge has got a shot at getting there.
He's got a shot at the legal record for home runs, because if you count Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds, those were done illegally.
Well, yeah, but they were all National League also, and that's what my point was, is, you know, Sosa, Bonds, and McGwire were all National League, and this is American League.
Yes, as far as overall, though,
right,
he would have the most of anybody not associated with performance-enhancing drugs.
And he's also the second fastest in AL/NL history to get to 200 home runs.
And I was shocked to see who the first number one was.
And you remember Ryan Howard from Philadelphia?
Ryan Howard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I was expecting a different name there.
Right. Yeah, and I kind of was too when I saw. I was like, "Wow, Ryan Howard, really? Okay."
Yeah.
And I remember watching him, you know, on the Phillies, and
yeah, maybe he wasn't doing PEDs. Otherwise, he might still be playing or something, because he just got hurt all the time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was a first baseman there for them. Mm-hmm. And but Judge, 43 home runs, 299 average. You know. Having a great season, and will you know, that's like 18 home runs away from with about, you know, close to 55 to 60 games left for the Yankees to beat Roger Maris.
He'd get there, you would think. At this rate, he's on pace for 68. But.
Correct, yeah, and we'll see what happens. You know, sometimes they taper off, but he hasn't seemed to taper off at all. I mean, he just when he hit his 42nd, 12 home runs in 14 games. That was the most in franchise history, actually.
All right.
I mean, just amazing.
Well, the Angels had some positive news besides Ohtani. Reed Detmers, he's the first rookie pitcher with a no-hitter and an immaculate inning in the same season.
That's correct.
I found out that an immaculate inning is 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts.
That's correct. Do
I dare differ with that?
You can go ahead and, you know, say what you said earlier, Joe.
Well, I was thinking if you're going to have an immaculate inning, it would only take 3 pitches, right? Well, 1, 2, 3, and then you're out of the inning.
I get that. It wasn't about you know, how quick. It was about striking out all 3 guys on 3 pitches each. You know, and so pretty amazing. The when you were talking about that, also there's a guy named Mike Fires, and also Sandy Koufax, who we all remember, Dodger, who threw a no-hitter and an immaculate inning in the same year.
Well, I would think an immaculate game would be 27 pitches, 27 outs, and that would be the end of the game.
When you want to talk about something that's really might happen, Joe, then we'll do that. No, you know, but I mean, you know, I don't know who came up with that immaculate inning.
You got to come up with a term for.
But it is
a 1, 2, 3
pitching. Striking out all 3 guys and doing it as quick as you possibly can. I mean, that's you know, that's pretty cool.
Should we just quickly go through the good teams in the standings?
Sure, we'll just go through the good teams. Okay, the Yankees, obviously, 70 and 35. That division, Toronto and Tampa Bay have the 2 of the wild card spots, and then Seattle, you know, because there's going to be 3 wild cards. But that division, you know, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Boston, you know, they're all from 11 to 17 behind the Yankees. And then we have what I was talking about earlier, too. The Yankees have the best home record. They've played a couple more games. The Dodgers have the best road record. They've played a few more games on the road than the Yankees. But anyway, we were talking about the Central with Minnesota, Cleveland, and the White Sox, all within, you know, 2 games. And the White Sox are only a game above 500, and Minnesota leading that division is only 5 games above 500. Then in the West, Houston kind of running away there. They are 67 and 38. Seattle is 11 back behind them. And then we do Texas Angels and the A's.
And how about the National League?
The National League, the New York Mets still in first place. Atlanta only 2.5 back. Philadelphia 10 back, but Atlanta, Philadelphia have 2 of the wild card spots. The other one obviously is for San Diego at this point, with being 3 wild card teams. Then in the Central we have Milwaukee. St. Louis is still right there. They're also they're tied with Philadelphia for a wild card spot. They're only 2 back in Milwaukee, so that could go the rest of the year. And then in the West, the Dodgers 11.5 ahead of San Diego, 19.5 ahead of the Giants. The Giants have fallen to 2 below 500, just having some rough times. And San Diego 60 and 46, 11.5 back. Of course, now they got all those the big trade thing, and they're in first right now as the first wild card. But we still have 55 to 60 games to go, so we'll see what happens.
Right. Now that we hit the trade deadline, we can really find out who's going to be getting hot and cold now, because some teams have given away some of their good players. Some teams have acquired some really
a lot
good
of those
players.
teams that gave away a lot of talent were teams at the bottom that weren't going anywhere anyway. Right. But there's some other teams that have a chance and didn't do nothing. Like I think the Dodgers didn't do really anything, and the Yankees did some stuff, and Houston did a little bit, the Mets did a little bit, Milwaukee did a little bit, but as the division leaders, but otherwise.
So, do you have any predictions for the games coming up this week?
No, I'll put them on the site tomorrow, like I did last week, and had a little bit of a rough week. I'm down to like 55%, but you know what? It's all I'll pick it up.
All right. Well, we'll look on the website for those picks. We got to get to some football news, of course, and it's an exciting time of year with the Hall of Fame game kicking off the exhibition season tomorrow. But before we get to that, we've got some stories to address, of course. First off, we finally got a decision in the case of Cleveland quarterback Deshaun Watson. What was the verdict, and what happens next, Big Rich?
Well, Deshaun Watson got a slap on the hand, or should I say a slap on the higher thigh, maybe? I mean, he definitely got a 6-game suspension. I thought that was so weak. I mean, who was the arbitrator?
Sue L. Robinson, a former judge.
Surprisingly, that she went so low on a 6-game suspension, no fines, and everybody in Cleveland is rejoicing because they have all that money, locked up into him. But they did put out that the NFL is going to appeal it, so we're looking at an 8-game suspension. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah, the league is going to shoot for a whole year. That's what they were hoping for. Of course, in past cases like this, the 6 games has been the most. Nonviolent sexual assault.
Yeah, egregious but nonviolent.
Egregious and behavior of a sexual predator is what she said. Yet the precedent had been set at 6 games.
Wow.
Yeah. So
with that language too. Yeah. Is she a judge in Cleveland or something, or what? I mean,
yeah. She's on the payroll somewhere.
She's from Delaware, actually. Yeah. So he's now settled 23 of the 24 cases against him. Only 4 of those cases were used as far as his case was concerned.
Yeah. So he has all of them settled except for 1.
Right.
So.
He's got a good life. He didn't play at all last year and still got paid by Houston.
Right.
And now he signed the largest guaranteed contract in NFL history. And he's basically a criminal.
Yeah.
So that's the NFL for you.
Let's just move on to something positive, okay?
Sure.
Let's go from the immaculate inning to the immaculate receivers. What do you think about that? Immaculate receptions.
You're skipping all this other stuff.
Okay, well, let's just go. Let's just go what you have there. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we got to talk about Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to build a team with players and coaches that were already on other teams.
Sure.
I believe that's not legal.
Yes, they call it cheating in most
tampering
categories, but we call it blatant tampering.
Yeah,
and you definitely don't want to steal horses with this guy because they went there and got all of his emails, his text messages, and Bruce Beal, his first chairman, was in contacts while they're under contract, which is tampering.
Yeah, he
obviously
wanted,
they
Tom
got
Brady and Sean Payton is who he's
right,
after.
and that's 2019. And they also, Coach Flores said that he was tanking games, but that was found unsustained. There was evidence there, but it was unsustained compared to the blatant tampering. And so they hammered him. They lost their 2023 first round pick and their 2024 third round pick. And Bruce Bill and the owner cannot be in contact until October 17th, any team meetings or even at the facilities. So they slapped him pretty hard.
Yeah.
But they'll still be there.
Yes, after October 17th.
Well, you can throw in the fine for $1.5 million, which to you and me is like $1.
Right.
As rich as he is.
And now it made me think of that bet we made too, for Miami to win.
Sure. And then eventually we had Tom Brady.
Those
on that
great
one.
odds we
I still like Miami. Those
Those great odds we got, for them to win it all, and holding on to those tickets up.
Yeah, we are definitely holding the tickets on.
So, how do these suspensions that we just talked about compare to Atlanta receiver Calvin Ridley? I always go back to that.
Yeah,
he got a
1 year.
1-year suspension for betting supposedly $1,500 total on 6 parlay bets, which cost him $11 million. Watson's going to lose, the way his contract is set up, less than $1 million.
Right. So the NFL blatantly put down that tampering and touching somewhere where they don't want to be touched, a female where they don't want to be touched, is worse than betting. Or betting is worse than that.
Betting is worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's got to even out somehow.
Right.
Okay. And we did talk last week about that clause in Arizona quarterback Kyler Murray's contract required him to study 4 hours a week at home. Oh, brutal. What has transpired since then?
Well, they've taken it out of his contract. Kyler Murray cried his way out of another thing he didn't like. I just can't imagine Tom Brady, being upset he has to watch 4 hours of film. I'm sure he does that on his own. So
Right.
He probably does it every night, let alone
exactly.
during the course of a
We
week.
talked about that last week. Yeah, he wouldn't be playing for me, I'll tell you that. But.
And then Murray got COVID like the very next day, so he couldn't even practice for 5 days. And
Well, maybe he could have got his 4 hours of film in while he's isolated, and he could have watched his film.
that's going to run into his game playing,
Right.
his video games. I don't know if he's got time for all that, but
Our producer was just doing that in animation over here, when you were talking.
Yeah, the animation was playing video games.
producer Cornelius is a
Most
gamer.
children,
He is.
they get grounded.
Yes. He'd much rather be gaming than watching film of opposing defense. That's for sure.
Right.
And counting his money, right?
So, Big Rich, maybe we should talk about the injuries since the beginning of training camps. We've already had a few.
Right. Denver Broncos. They had their three amigos, that looked like from the 80s. They had the three amigos back then. They had their three amigos. They had Jerry Jeudy, and they had Cortland Sutton, and the third one, Tim Patrick, obviously blew out his ACL this week, out for the season. Terrible blow. He actually led the Broncos last year with 734 yards receiving with 5 touchdowns. They also lost Amari Crockett, their second-year running back from Missouri, has an ACL injury. He's out as well. Mm-hmm. Cowboys lost James Washington, the excellent receiver from Pittsburgh, had 4 years there, and he's out 10 weeks. And the question now in Tampa Bay, the injury, where will Tom put his digits next year? I mean, whose butt is he going to put those hands under? Ryan Jensen, their center, had suffered a left knee injury, and he will be out. They have not said how long, but they said it's a significant injury, which pretty much spells he's going to be out for at least a couple months.
Could be out for the season, but
Could be out
they
for the
haven't
season.
decided yet.
But he's a great center. He's from CSU Pueblo, and
Wow.
and he was on the Division II championship team out there where I was in Pueblo. So, tough to see that. It's tough for Tom because it all starts with the center.
Being a Dallas fan, I don't know if the James Washington loss is that huge. If he was that good, wouldn't have Pittsburgh have just kept him? I'm kind of thinking. But
With a depleted receiving core that you have with Amari Cooper moving to Cleveland, I mean, he was definitely a part of it. So that's definitely going to hurt the
Michael
Cowboys.
Gallup probably won't be playing week 1.
No, he's still recovering from his ACL injury.
That's an issue that needs to be addressed, although Dallas is staying steadfast that they're not going out after any veterans right now.
Right. I think after you'll see some people get cut here in camp when they get to that 53-man roster, and they'll be able to pick up a veteran, I'm sure.
Right. Well, Rich, let's now look at tomorrow's Hall of Fame game. I know you're looking forward to this.
Oh yeah, they already said Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be playing, and David Carr ain't going to be playing, and who's the running back they got from Florida? That
Travis Etienne.
yeah, he'll be out.
Jacksonville,
He's not
no,
playing
no.
either. He's coming back from ACL. So I mean, we're basically going to see some USFL players out there. But I know you'll bet it, Joe, because I know you got issues. So I already know you'll bet it. So.
Of course I'm going to bet. You got to take that angle and run with it. Last I checked, the point spread had Las Vegas favored by 1 over Jacksonville. The point total of 30.5. Wow, I got to ask, what is your prediction?
Well, I'm definitely going to take the under, and I know it's only 30 points, but I mean, I guess you got to bet the best kicker because I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, the kickers are the starters. I mean, I don't think you can get injured kicking a field goal, so I think they'll be out there kicking.
Well, this game historically has been of very poor quality. In the last 9 Hall of Fame games, 6 have gone under the 30.5 total points. I like Jacksonville's better depth at quarterback. Kyle Sloter from the USFL's and New Orleans Breakers.
Yes.
He's going to see plenty of action in that game, and he's probably the most game ready right now.
Yeah, he's had a whole season at the USFL. Played
He
great.
just played. It would have been nice to get that under at 33.5 where it opened, believe it or not. But I'm going to take Jacksonville on the money line and the under 30.5 points. I agree with you on the under.
Okay.
So we're going to get to that part you want to get to earlier.
Right.
In past weeks, we've listed our top 10 NFL quarterbacks and running backs. Now let's take a look at the wide receivers. Who is on your list?
Okay, well, first of all, let's look at the wide receivers have new teams and new uniforms this year. Davante Adams goes to Las Vegas. I think he's going to be on turf this year. I think he's going to be in better weather than Green Bay. I like him this year. Amari Cooper goes to Cleveland. Who knows who his quarterback will be, but I know he'll get a good massage out there, so I think he's going to be good. Tyreek Hill went to Miami. I think that was just a wonderful pickup. I think that he is very good on the short game, and two is very accurate. I think we're going to see big things out of him. A.J. Brown goes to the Eagles. I think that's a big pickup for them. I think the Eagles are definitely the front runner to beat your Cowboys this year and win that division. Stop pinching me. I really believe that. And then,
I'm totally on board with you on that.
All right,
I'm not picking the Giants or the Redskins. I mean, the Commanders. Excuse me.
And then we also have Marquise Hollywood Brown went to the Cardinals, just criminal speeding. So I think he thinks he belongs in NASCAR. He has a criminal speeding charge, so who knows what that will be. But criminal speeding is probably not going to sit well with the league. Luckily, he didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, like the Vegas guy did, Henry Ruggs last year.
Yes. So he's there, and I mean, maybe he lost some time while he's in to watch some film along with Kyler Murray. All right, so now let's get into our immaculate receivers to go with your immaculate ending. Let's go for my top 10 will be for fantasy reasons, and your top 10 will be just best players. Is that correct?
I'm good. That's the way I'm going. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I know we're both going to start off with Cooper Kupp.
Yes.
Last year, Triple Crown winner, almost 2,000 yards, 1947 receiving, 145 receptions, and 16 glorious touchdowns. He also had 191 targets. So Matthew Stafford likes to throw to Cooper Kupp.
Okay. Number two. Total agreement.
I know. Well, this is where you're going to be disagreeing with me, but I love Davante Adams in his new home. I know everybody's.
Again.
So
number two,
Davante Adams, I think in his new home, I think they have chemistry. They were roommates, and I think that they're not going to skip a beat. I love the turf that they'll be playing in the what do they call it? The
the Death Star.
Death Star, yes, the Death Star. I think that they're going to be great. I think that David Carr's finally has his number one receiver. They also have a great tight end, Waller, and I think that they're just going to be. And I love the coach, so I think that they're going to get the ball to Davante Adams. Davante Adams had over 167 targets last year, and I don't see it changing anymore.
I do think the production and the targets do go down a little bit because of Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow.
Right.
Whereas Aaron Rodgers didn't seem to trust anybody but Davante Adams.
Yeah, but you also have cold weather that has to play a factor. I think that that'll even it out. But okay.
But we agree on the top two.
Okay, and then we're going to go with JJ, Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Last year he had 1,616 yards receiving. He also had 81 receptions with 13 touchdowns. If you had him on your fantasy team last year, you're very happy with him, very productive every week, solid receiver. He's always getting his share of targets, and I like Justin Jefferson at number 3.
Okay. I put Tyreek Hill there just because the ability to just throw it like 5-10 yards, and he
Right.
can just take it to the house.
Right, just what we just talked about with Tyreek Hill. I have him as number 4. So
Okay.
You can't go wrong with either one of these guys.
No.
Waddle's going to take a little bit of the receptions from Tyreek Hill, but like you said, he's going to get his share of touches. And anytime that guy, the Cheetah, has the ball, he has a chance to go to the end zone.
Number 4, I put Stephon Diggs, just because he's got Josh Allen throwing the ball to him. He's going to have an
Absolutely.
amazing year.
And I have Stephon Diggs at number 5.
Okay.
You can pick him up in your fantasy drafts. I've done multiple drafts. He's usually anywhere between 10 to 14. He's a great first-round pick if you're picking later in your draft, because you can pick up Josh Allen probably in the 3rd, and now you can double dip on those two. So if you can get Josh Allen in the 3rd round, Tyreek is your number 1, then sandwich in maybe an Ezekiel Elliott or a solid running back in there, you're going to have a solid fantasy team throughout the year.
Okay. 5th, I put Jamar Chase ahead of Justin Jefferson. That was a tough call. It gets pretty tough at this point.
Yeah, they're pretty much equal. They're also all very, very great receivers. But I put Deebo Samuels, and the reason I put Deebo Samuels is he had 1,400 yards receiving. He had 6 touchdowns receiving, but on the other end, he had 365 yards rushing with another 8 touchdowns rushing. So he is a fantasy
Yes.
guru. If you can get him on there, he's going to get you points. They gave incentives for him. If he scores over 3 touchdowns rushing, he gets $500,000. And if he has 350 yards rushing, he gets $500,000 incentive, trying to keep him to do both. He is not happy there. That's the only reason I moved him down, because if you put his 365 yards along with that 1,600 yards, I mean, he's right up there with production-wise with Cooper Kupp. If you put his rushing and his receiving together, but I think they might trade him. I really do. I think that he's still up in the air about being traded, and so that one has a little bit of question mark for me.
Yeah. I put Deebo at 10 because I was looking strictly at him as a wide receiver.
Right.
I wasn't factoring in the rushing. I was just listing wide receivers. I put DeAndre Hopkins up there. Of course, he's hurt. He's suspended. And he got hurt last year.
8 games, 6 games. So
6
he's
games.
going to be out for a while. So
I had to put Mike Evans up there.
And I have Mike Evans next, and you can put him with Chris Godwin because their 2 is a wash. I mean, Mike Evans had 14 touchdowns last year to Chris Godwin's 5 touchdowns, so that's significant in fantasy. But also, Chris Godwin had 24 more receptions. So if you play PPR, you can make up your touchdowns with those catches. They both were right around 1,100 yards receiving, so they're pretty equal. Tom Terrific, if he can get it from his center, cleanly, I mean, he's going to get it to those 2.
Well, I had to put CD Lamb on my list. Couldn't help myself.
Sure you did. I'm sure
Number
you
9.
did. Yeah.
And,
but I'm going to put Keenan Allen over there.
A breakout year for CD.
You have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. They're the same way. You can't go wrong with either one of those guys in your draft. They're going to give you about the same amount of fantasy value. Mike Williams did have more touchdowns, but that could change from year to year. And then I'll put up my number 10. I'm going to put CeeDee Lamb because I believe that's all they have. So CeeDee Lamb, you can get him pretty much in the 3rd or 4th round. And last year his numbers weren't great, but I think he's going to have a better year this year. Because that's all Dak has.
I'm going to throw in Dalton Schultz, as a sleeper at tight end.
Okay.
You're going to say he has nobody else, but Dalton Schultz.
We'll talk about tight ends next week, but I like Schultz.
Nobody else.
He does have that. And we'll talk about him next week with our tight ends as we get closer to draft. August is draft season, the best time of year for football. I think the most exciting time, and everybody should get their fantasy football caps on and get ready to go.
All right. Well, one other subject we should talk about, as we should talk about other sports too, we have to honor the passing of basketball legend Bill Russell. Do you have a Bill Russell story? Either one of you guys?
Well, I used to watch him too because I was always been a big Celtic fan all the way back with Russell and Havlicek and all those guys. And sad, but what a great player and human being too.
Right, double machine right there. I mean, he's rebounding points every week.
Rebounding, scoring.
Yeah, and of course, playing against Will Chamberlain, those two played against each other.
That's right.
But you can argue who the better center was, but you can't argue who has the most rings. And with 11 rings, I think in any sport, it would be only maybe the Montreal Canadiens would probably some of those guys
they can compare.
They can compare with 11 championships also.
Yep.
I mean, as far as, baseball, basketball, football, I mean, his 11 rings by far the best.
I can read off some of these stats. Obviously, Winner might be his middle name. University of San Francisco, he won 2 straight NC2A championships, led the team to 55 consecutive wins, won a gold medal at the 56 Olympics, won those 11 championships, as you said, 8 straight at one point. His last 2 championships was as a player and Major Sports League's first black coach.
Okay.
So he's a player coach. Over his career, he averaged 22.5 rebounds per game and got 51 once.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So just to average 22.5
Right.
for your entire career, just amazing. Do you guys have any personal Bill Russell stories? Did you?
Well, I'd like to say
have
Magic
one.
Johnson did put out
Yeah.
that he wanted to retire number 6 league-wide. I think that would be appropriate for same
Sure.
way they've done with other players that,
Jackie Robinson.
Right,
certainly.
And they want to retire 6. Magic's pushing for that. And I would, being a Laker fan, I still would agree with that.
Yeah, totally. And hopefully we'll see that. I think
Okay.
it's,
My personal Bill Russell story, it's not much of one though. In '87, I did my college internship at the Sacramento Sports Association. They were in charge of building the Kings' new Arco Arena. And that year, Bill Russell had just come out of retirement, coaching retirement, to coach the Kings. So I'm delivering something somewhere. I passed by an office with the door open, and there's Bill Russell standing behind his desk, talking on his phone at 6'9", and him being busy, there's no way I'm bothering him, especially since the team was struggling, is on its way to a 17-41 record before he stepped down during the middle of the season. I guess I should have made a bigger effort to meet him, but oh well. That story had a ton of potential, kind of fizzled out at the end, but
yeah, he was,
I got within feet of.
You probably thought you were the paper boy being so tall. Like, hey, get the paper
he was
boy out here, yeah.
I looked like I was 16 still.
Exactly.
yeah, he was something
wasn't
else.
sure, but anyway.
Watched a lot of those Lakers Celtic things growing up in LA and being a Celtic fan too.
Yes.
And
Just
great
a
to watch.
slightly-
And that's great what Magic Johnson said too, and watching him and Larry Bird go at it too many times. So
Slightly before my time, he retired in '69, and I didn't get to see him play, but obviously one of the best of all time.
So
Certainly the best winner.
So I just dated myself again now, didn't I?
Just a little bit. Well, excellent job, guys. Thank you very much.
Great being here, Joe.
Joe, thanks for having me. Big Rich, good to have you back.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for. The stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end, something went horribly wrong. They ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So, Big Rich, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Yeah, I'm going to step in for Gator Gates. Hope he's feeling better, but I know he's recovering for some medical issues, and I hope he feels better. So I'll do my guy. I'm going to fill in for you, Gator. I'm going to do my You Got Hosed. I'm currently on a baseball blackout board. If you don't know what that is like every time your team gets a number, they score 7 runs, they put a sticker on it. You don't have to get it. If you can get all 10 numbers, then you win the pot. There's, 31 teams or whatever. How many teams in? 30. Right, 30 teams. So there's 30 of us in there, and you can win up to $150. And I just needed 8. And my Milwaukee Brewers were going to black out my board. And last Saturday, Urias is on third base, and we had a 7 with 2 outs. And the pitcher graciously threw a wild pitch and went to the backstop, and Urias scores. And then the next pitch, home run, deep center field in Boston, and I got 9. What already had a 9, so I got hosed. If you had to get anything but a home run, a double, triple, anything but a home run, I'd have been fine. I would have got my board.
That's cool though. I didn't know about that. I hadn't heard about that.
It's a cool little pool.
It's a
That
cool
is
little pool,
that
but it wasn't
is.
cool for me because
Right.
I'm still waiting for my number 8.
But you're not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, okay, good.
Well, Joe, you got host?
Very cool.
Well, I do. I just happened to be watching a game in baseball last Thursday. Philadelphia playing at Pittsburgh. Philly's a big minus 210 favorite. So, who's going to bet that? On the run line, minus 1.5. Philly's like minus 115. The minus 2.5, the alternate run line, they're at plus 140. And generally, that's where people are going to bet, or
Right.
or the good prices.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
In the 7th inning, the Phillies are winning 8-0. Easy money, right?
You would
They're
think.
still up 8-2 in the ninth. And then the wheels start to come off. They give up 5 runs in the ninth, with the last one being scored on a harmless ground out to second base where they didn't care. Just go ahead and score.
Right.
Philadelphia wins 8-7. But anyone who bet Philly on the run line or that alternate run line, they got hosed.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be you got hosed, and like, why are you throwing an underhand, man? Get the guy out.
Right, yeah, well, Pittsburgh ain't having too good of a year. That was during a 6-game losing streak, in fact, for them. But yeah, they're having a rough time.
Well, I would bet the stories like that end up happening all the time, more than I know. It just I
They
happen to
happen.
be watching that game
They
at that
happen
time.
often, yeah. They happen quite a bit. But, you know, I follow it a lot more, so I see a lot more of that. But, yeah. But you bet on it all. That's the difference.
Yeah, I didn't bet that particular game. I'm just stunned to see that comeback.
I do a lot of betting myself, but, you know, you're a whole different story there, Joe.
You got hosed.
Just to put it out there, all you Covering the Field sports fans, we will be doing our Friday, August 19th show live from the Capitol Barbershop. It's going to be great. We're going to have Jeff Nichols is going to be sponsoring the show. There's going to be barbecue. There'll be some cold beverages, adult beverages, I should say. And then there'll also be some boards you can get on. Just a great time. All of us get together. You can get a haircut and get a cold beverage. You'll be hearing from the football specialists for the year. We're going to be giving our predictions for the upcoming NFL season. It's just a great time to get started and a great way to kick it off. Thank you, Jeff, for sponsoring our show, and we'll see you there on the 19th at the Capitol Barbershop at 3:30 p.m.
That's 256 West Winnie Lane in Carson City, Nevada. Well, folks, another great week. Thank you for tuning into the show, and we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to a Covering the Field sports show. Visit us at coveringthefield.com. Email us your comments, questions, and You Got Host stories at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Thank you to our junior IT, Caden Martin. Thanks to our assistant to the editorial staff, Boots McCage. We will see you all next time for another episode of Covering the Field.